Alrighty guys, I'm back. So hopefully by now you're kind of getting into the groove of how these videos work, how to complete and submit your assignments online. I hope everybody's doing okay, staying healthy, staying up to work. Remember, you can always email me with any questions. I'm available 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., normal contract hours, if you need any help that way. Okay? So our assignment that we are going to be talking about today will be due on March 27th. Sorry, I always have to check the dates. Okay, so it'll be due on March 27th. We are talking about linear equations right now, either in slope-intercept form or standard form. Okay, so I have 4 examples that I will be doing with you and then 4 that you'll do on your own. So let's jump right into it. Okay, number 1, it is asking us to write the slope-intercept form of the equation of each line given the slope and y-intercept. Okay, so let's really quick, let's underline slope-intercept and remind ourselves what that actually looks like. Okay, slope-intercept always looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, and you're going to say, well, how does that help me? Those are just letters. Well, we know that m is always our slope. B is always our y-intercept. Okay, so all we're doing is we are plugging what it gives us in to those spots in our slope-intercept form equation. Okay, so let's jump over here. It gives us, in fact, let's start by writing y equals, the only thing we have to fill in is the mx part and then the plus or minus b. So we have a spot right here, plus or minus something at the end. Okay, our slope always goes in front of our x, as indicated by the m. Our slope is -1. Don't have to write the 1, you can if you want. Okay, and then our y-intercept is always at the end, plus or minus something. Okay, this is a positive 5, so we do plus 5. Okay, it can also be written y equals -x plus 5. Either of those are okay. Okay, so all we did was just write it in slope-intercept form when given the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, number 2. It actually gives us a graph. We're doing the same thing. We need to actually write the equation, but instead of actually telling us what our slope is, it's giving us a graph. So the first thing we need to find is our y-intercept. Okay, so I hope you guys can see this. You should have all the notes in front of you. So we see that there's no place that it intersects the y-intercept except for right here in the middle at 0. Okay, so we can write that our y-intercept for this is actually 0. Okay, so from there, I want to count to a point that meets somewhere perfectly on the corner. Okay, it's going to be that point right there that goes perfectly in the corner. Okay, so from those 2 points, in order to find my slope, I'm going to rise over run to them. Right? Rise over run. Count to it. Okay, so I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 over my run, 1. Okay, 4 over 1, we can always reduce to just 4. Okay, so now I have the information just like it gave us in number 1, slope and y-intercept. Okay, I just had to find it using the graph. So now I can use this information to actually write my equation. Again, it always starts with y equals our slope in front of our x, 4x, and then our y-intercept being 0. We don't have to write plus 0, you can, but both of these are correct. Okay, both of those. Perfect. I don't care which one you write, both are correct. Awesome, let's keep moving on. Again, the beauty of videos, you can always pause, rewind, whatever you want. Okay, number 3. Now it gives us an equation right here, and it gives us a graph. It's asking us to sketch the graph. We're supposed to graph this equation. Okay, so we always start with our y-intercept. Okay, y-intercept is always on the end. Okay, our y-intercept's at -1. Okay, so that's our first point. And then we're going to use our slope to count. Okay, y-intercept, and then slope to count. Okay, so using my slope of 6 divided by 5, or 6 over 5, I'm going to rise 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, And then from there, run 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, connect those 2 points with a straight line, put arrows at the end, and we did it. We graphed it. That's all it's asking us to do. Okay, that one is in slope-intercept form. Again, telling us our slope and our y-intercept. Number 4, our last example for today, is in standard form. This one doesn't tell us our slope and our y-intercept. Okay, so whenever something is in standard form, we're going to use a little t-chart over here with an x and a y in order to solve to find our points, Okay, so after you draw your t-chart, put a little arrow under x, or a little 0 under x, and then on the second space, put a 0 under y, just like that. Okay? So now that we have our t-chart, when I plug in a 0 for x, all we can say is that we get rid of x. Okay? So now our equation down here, negative 2y equals 10. Okay, let's go ahead and solve for that. Okay, so we got rid of our x. Now we just have this equation to solve for y. Because when we plug in a 0 for x, 5 times 0 is just 0. That's why it disappears. Okay, let's come down here though and solve for y. The opposite of times by negative 2 is divide by negative 2. We know that y is negative 5. It's going to go right there. When we plugged in a 0 for x, we got negative 5 for y. Okay, we can go ahead and put this coordinate point on our graph. 0, negative 5. It's going to be right there. Okay, let's do the same thing for y now. Okay, our second one. We're going to plug in a 0 for y. Okay, this time, negative 2 times 0 is just 0. So now my new equation below is 5x equals 10. 5x equals 10. Now we can go ahead and actually solve for x this time. Okay, the opposite of times by 5 is divide by 5. That gets rid of it. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So when we plugged in a 0 for y, we got a 2 for x. And we can go ahead and put our second coordinate point. 2, 0. It's right there. We have our 2 points to connect. And there's our graph. Okay? 4 examples I just did with you. You have 4 problems that are very similar, if not identical to those. So again, you can watch the video as many times. Either print it off, scan it, take a picture of it. When you complete it, submit it through Canvas, or go on to wootmath.com and do it that way. Okay? Thanks, guys.